Hey folks, this is Rob Bailey from robbailey.com, and I'm here today with Chris Ducker, who you can see on the screen. I really quickly wanted to shoot a... How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Chris is all the way in the Philippines. I'm here in San Diego, California. I wanted to talk with Chris today really quickly. He's been at his office for a while, and he's ending his day, but I grabbed him for a few quick minutes because I wanted to expose you guys to what I've been experiencing with Chris. And basically, Chris has a virtual assistant finding service that I have been utilizing the past couple of weeks. And I've been having really, really good results from it. I just hired a full-time VA for $325 per month, US dollars. And Chris provided me with 3 awesome candidates. I had the hardest time choosing them. And this is a new program that he's just released. It's pretty much unknown at this point. So I just wanted to quickly introduce Chris and let him talk a little bit about the service. So Chris, why don't you take it from here and just kind of let us know what you're doing over there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks very much for the glowing testimonial there. As it's on your site, it doesn't seem so shameless, obviously, but nonetheless, thank you very much. Well, yeah, you're right. You know, the Virtual Staff Finder service has literally only just gone live last Thursday, so we're talking like 4 or 5 days ago. We've had 13 people sign up already in that space of time, the first 7 of which were over the first 48 hours of the doors being open, so to speak. I've got to be frank, it's kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And as part of the service itself is actually utilizing time with myself as, you know, a supposed expert in outsourcing with a 30-minute phone call, I've now had to reshuffle my schedule pretty heavily this week to handle all these calls. But in a nutshell, as you well know, obviously, but for your viewers and your readers, in a nutshell, what the Virtual Staff Finder service is that it's bridging the gap between, for entrepreneurs, between the idea of having a home-based virtual assistant, but with the infrastructure behind it in regards to sourcing and finding and utilizing that virtual assistant of a proven solutions provider such as my company, the Live to Sell Group. And I mean, we've been in business for almost 5.5 years now. I've trained literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of virtual staff based here in the Philippines over the last 10 years since I've lived here. And I know a good one when I see one, and I know a crappy one when I see one.
Right.
And, you know, we currently we have about, I believe, it's about 400 or so virtual assistants in our database. Some of them will obviously be placed with virtual bosses such as yourself. Some of them will not. You know, some of them won't cut the mustard, plain and simple. Right. It's a very simple process. I'm not going to bore your listeners right now with every single detail. They can go to virtualstafffinder.com, or I believe you're going to put a link right underneath the video here for the guys to check it out. Right. But fundamentally, it begins with the sign up, a job description being given to us, that conference call with myself, me giving my findings from that call in a report to my team of virtual staff finders, which work full-time with me here in my facility. And then they will fundamentally run through that database, looking at your requirements and pitting them off against whatever we've got in the database, coming to usually around about 15 or so candidates, interviewing them, background checks, online testing, the whole shebang, reference checks, the whole lot, and then coming up with 3 finalized candidates, which will then be presented to the client, such as you experienced. Right. And with a bit of luck, we'll have that every time where all 3 are so good, it's a very hard decision for you to make.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you pick one and you get to work with them, plain and simple. Or you could pick all 3 and send us more money, but it's totally up to you.
That's right. I personally was scrambling to find whether I had enough work to hire, you know, another one of these candidates. And, you know, it's a bit daunting. Like, you know, it's a lot of work just to provide the training materials and train one VA in the first place. So I wouldn't recommend doing that for most people, but the candidates were that good. I would have done it if I had the trainings provided and the work to be done. In a heartbeat, I would have hired 2 of the 3 out of them at least. So,
well, you know what? A lot of people, and I know you want to keep this video short for your viewers, but let me give you a little bit of tip here. When you come across good quality virtual assistants, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing, whether it's sort of general admin stuff or whether they're developing websites or designing ebooks or whatever the case may be, when you come across good people, I'm a big believer that you should try and keep them if you possibly can, because it's very, very hard to find good people today, but even more so at an arm's length. And I mean, you know, like you said, you're putting together that training material for your VA. The beautiful thing with that, though, is that once it's done, it's done.
exactly.
And all you need to do is find something that your first VA does that works, that makes you money, that makes it all worthwhile, and then you emulate that into a different niche or a different market or whatever the case may be with a second virtual assistant. And you can fundamentally carbon copy that process out over and over and over again. And you don't have to make a lot of money with one particular online project to make that worthwhile, because if you have, say, 5 online projects or websites or whatever they're doing for you, if you have 5 projects like that that are each bringing in $3,000 or $4,000 a piece per month, and it's fundamentally only costing you maybe $300 or $400 a month to run that, that's ridiculous profit, and that's profit that you cannot and should not ignore, obviously.
Exactly, and that's the benefit. You know, for me, I have to leverage something in my business to make it work. And this is where I'm finding the leverage relationship. So just really quick, you guys, here's the process, okay? Here's how I did it. I found Chris. I submitted my application, gave him as detailed of a process as I could describe to him for what I wanted this person to do for me. He went out and found them. I believe it was a week or 10 days later, he got back to me and, you know, kind of filled in some more details. He was narrowing his list down. And then he gave me a report with the 3 candidates that he thought would be the best for interviewing. We went ahead and did an interview via Skype, just like I'm doing with Chris right now. I spent a half an hour with each one of them. And, you know, after that process, I had some time. I had a hard decision to make, but I made the decision, let them know that they were hired. And then from there on, they're my employee. And it was that quick. You know, I didn't sort through all the resumes. I didn't try to figure out if the person had an internet connection from home. You know, I didn't try to see if they were reliable. All that stuff was taken care of for me. So all I did was create the process for what they were going to do, tried to give you that process, you know, in a summarized format, talked to them, you know, just like we're kind of talking right now, pretty much. I mean, I'm not really that good of an interviewer, but, you know, and then you hire the person and you start giving them the trainings that you already created. So that's kind of the process that, you know, you go through, and that's how you leverage the currency, you know, the trade-off there. That's, you know, and she's excited about her salary. I mean, she can't wait to get paid.
I'm curious to know, how much are you actually paying her?
I'm paying her at $325 US per month to start off with, and then I'm giving her a $25 per month bump up to $400. So you know, each month that's
a very, very good idea. That's a very, very good idea, because it shows the virtual assistant from day one that if they're serious about working with you, you're serious about working with them, and it's a long-term thing. And really, for a full-time general VA, which will handle, you know, your blogging and your social networking and your online research and that sort of stuff, $400 is about as far as you want to go. I don't think you need to go any further to have a great superstar under your wing, doing those things for you. But, you know, I don't think the 400 is probably the right number to start with, like you are. I think anything between that sort of $300 to $350 a month is more than worthwhile. And let me just address very quickly the time span of which you talked about in regards to finding and hiring the VA at 7 to 10 days. That's our target. That's always our target. And we should fundamentally be able to get nearer the 7 rather than the 10. It does depend a little bit on, you know, when you sign up. If you sign up on a Friday or on a Saturday, then that kind of kills 2 or 3 days immediately. But, you know, ultimately 7 to 10 days is our target always.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I had a great experience. I know my list has been craving this information. They want to know where they can get people for this amount because I talk about it and see it all over the internet. So I'm really happy that you allowed the link that you see below, folks, is basically a backdoor link. Chris doesn't really have a ton of openings for this, but he decided to let me send some people over there. I do make a referral fee for everyone that, you know, I send over there, but Chris is basically taking a very select group of clients right now because this is a brand new project for him and he wants to service the people that he's got as new customers. He's doing a great job so far, and I really respect you trying to keep it as small as you have. Because the quality is there.
You know what? It is what it is. I had a feeling that it was going to be required, and it looks like it certainly is. Time will tell. You know, you know, there's always that inevitable opportunity for it to die very, very quickly. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think I know this. I know this market space very, very well, and I think that there's a ton of Rob Baileys out there that just they need it. They need it. They're plain and simple. So
yeah.
With a bit of luck, it'll keep me busy for a while.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you said, once my VA starts producing, I'm just going to roll that profit back into another, you know, just make the cookie cutter a little bit higher scale and just, you know, try to multiply the efforts and multiply the profits. So,
That's it.
There you go. All right, Chris. Well, thanks for your time today. We went a little longer than we expected, but that's always to be expected, I guess. And thanks for the nuggets of information. And, you know, I'll be curious to see what, you know, my folks think about your service. I'm sure they're going to be as happy as I have. So click the link below and check it out. You can see some more videos where Chris talks about the service and a little bit more how it works. Sign up fast. I know he's going to have to turn some people away because he's already getting bombarded with inquiries. So, yeah, thanks again, buddy. I really appreciate your time, and get home. I know you're tired today, so.
No problem. That's okay. It was good. It was no problem at all making time for you, Rob.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.